Hello everyone, and today we're going to take a look at the original Call of Duty, which was released in 2003. So this year marks the 20th anniversary of the Call of Duty franchise. So we're going to celebrate it by taking a look at every single Call of Duty games campaign, at least, because we can't check out the multiplayer because most of the older ones, the multiplayer is now gone, unfortunately. So we'll just stick to the campaign, at least, for every single Call of Duty game. So we have to start early. So again, the original Call of Duty released, it was developed by Infinity Ward, which was a new studio at the time, which was made up of members, previous members of 2015 Incorporated, which was the developer that worked on Medal of Honor Allied Assault. Again, a lot of people consider Medal of Honor Allied Assault to be kind of like the precursor to Call of Duty, at least. Again, it has the same engine as Call of Duty and was developed by most of the same team. Again, there was noticeable differences. Again, graphics were better. You had the aim down sights. You had much bigger arenas to fight in, as well. Larger scale battles. Like Stalingrad was the main sort of highlight of Call of Duty visually. As it featured an incredible number of players, number of AI controlled allies and enemies on screen as well. So it could do big scale battles, and it had dynamically scripted AI. The AI was called Conduit, which allowed the AI to move from cover to cover, use flank and suppress tactics. And it also could be done dynamically, so it made no two levels play out the exact same way. Which is pretty interesting. It was a pretty interesting AI system that they had. They added the battle chatter system later on, where the enemies would call out and the allies would call out different things that was going on. So Call of Duty was released, of course, on the PC in 2003. It's available for Windows and Mac OS as well. It's also available digitally on Steam. You can find it there. You could also get it on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. It was ported there. It's part of Modern Warfare 2, not the Modern Warfare 2, but the original Modern Warfare 2 in 2009. God, that's not gonna get confusing in later years. We're gonna have to call it Modern Warfare 2009, Modern Warfare 2 2009, Modern Warfare 2 2022. We're gonna have to call it that. So if you bought the hardened edition, you got it released. It then came to Xbox Live Arcade and the PlayStation Network, and it was dubbed Call of Duty Classic. It had like HD resolution, multiplayer support as well. Wasn't the best because it wasn't really designed to be played with a controller. It was better off as a mouse and keyboard because, again, Call of Duty was designed as a PC exclusive. Although getting the best way to run this game is on the PC, I would say. If you want to run it today, it's pretty easy to get running. You do have to go in and adjust the config file, and if you're using like a zoomed in Windows, what is it called? The Windows display is zoomed in. You have to zoom that back out again. Otherwise, the game will appear zoomed in. So that's a bit of an issue running on Windows 10. I don't know what it's like on Windows 11 because I don't have Windows 11, unfortunately. But yeah, Windows 10 runs fairly well. It struggles to hit 144 FPS at 1440p on an RTX 3080 Ti, if you want to know. It does dip down to like 130 FPS, so panic. If we didn't have a VRR display, there would be panic there. So at least there is that. I love the original Call of Duty. I still think it holds up pretty well. A lot of people think it's outdated. It does have health in it, unlike all the other CODs. Call of Duty 2 was the first game that introduced the healthless shooter. So you still had to pick up health kits, a la Medal of Honor as well. That was, again, the same as Call of Duty. So there is that. Some people don't like that, and they say that the game it is very basic, but I think everything still works, and you can see the DNA of all the modern Call of Duty games. Like, we talked about the dam level as being my favorite level there. Basically, it is similar. You could see it as the precursor to a lot of Call of Duty's signature levels, like All Gillied Up, for example. It was kind of like that. You've got a bit more freedom in the gameplay. You're not just following someone around. Like in the modern Call of Duty games, you can kind of you're just on your own doing that. You get the big squad-based missions as well. You've got the American campaign, which is set on D-Day, or just before D-Day at least. You drop in as a paratrooper just before D-Day, and you've got you have to take the guns out that are firing on the beaches for D-Day. They're firing on Normandy Beach, and you've got to stop them. You've got to sabotage them. So you get dropped in the night before as a paratrooper. It's not like Medal of Honor, which actually had D-Day, the D-Day landings, which was pretty interesting. Again, COD 1 replaces this with Stalingrad, which is its big sort of cinematic signature level, which for a 2003 game, it was really good. I mean, again, Medal of Honor kind of introduced this sort of cinematic type gameplay to this. And again, modern Call of Duties have followed this on as well. You have had those big signature invasion levels that you get in the modern Call of Duty games. And this is where it got its start, though. Stalingrad, again, it does rip off the movie Enemy at the Gates. It is a scene-for-scene recreation of that movie. I'm surprised there was no lawsuits there, given that. Maybe they weren't aware it existed. Maybe just COD 1 just wasn't big enough. And yeah, overall, there is three distinct campaigns in Call of Duty 1. Again, we said the American campaign. You've got the British campaign, which again has the dam level, and you've got kind of interesting, you get the chase level after it, which kind of reminds me of Modern Warfare's chase level on the back of a truck. It's a bit like that as well. The British campaign is pretty good as well. The Russian campaign probably is the best one. Again, it starts with Stalingrad. It starts with you going across the Volga River into Stalingrad. Of course, they have more men than weapons, of course. That was the big thing the Soviet Union had, though. They had lack of resources and weapons, or it took them a while to get resources and weapons to the front line, but they had plenty of men, so they just threw men at the Germans, really. And that's true, and you see it in Call of Duty and Enemy at the Gates. Like, one person gets a rifle, one person gets a set of ammo, and they say when the person with the rifle gets killed, you pick up the person that picks up the rifle. So yeah, so that was interesting, the way the Soviets treated their soldiers as resources to be extinguished. And they had plenty of resources, to be fair to the Soviet Union then. But yeah, there you go. So Call of Duty does pay kind of tribute to that. The Russian campaign is pretty good. I do like it. Again, you go through the streets of Stalingrad with your sniper rifle. Again, if you've seen the movie Enemy at the Gates, you know what to expect. That was a decent film. It had Jude Law and Ed Harris and Raquel Weisz in it. Pretty good movie. It's about two snipers that face off. You've got Vasily Zaitsev as the Russian sniper, and you've got Ed Harris as I don't know who he plays. He plays some German sniper that they bring in, and it's pretty interesting, set in against the backdrop of Stalingrad, which is pretty good. It's a pretty good recreation that Call of Duty goes through there, and that's what it did. It really recreated the battles of World War II really well, especially for a 2003 game. Again, the campaign is pretty good. I think it's worth checking out if you're a fan of Call of Duty. The multiplayer, I won't touch upon. I used to play this. I bought this game at release. Me and my friend used to play it. We used to do Enemy at the Gates multiplayer. It was never really an official mode, but you just go into Stalingrad levels and just play as snipers. I think everybody kind of did that. You just ran around sniping people, and you used to have 1v1s in Stalingrad, and that was, again, we were just playing Enemy at the Gates mode, because Enemy at the Gates came out roughly at the same time as Call of Duty, and that's what we used to do, because we used to love that movie, and we used to pretend we were playing Enemy at the Gates and Call of Duty. That's my biggest abiding memory of its multiplayer, playing with dial-up at the time as well, so it was never the best connection there, but the campaign was, again, it was excellent. Again, for cinematics, for the gunplay was really good as well. You had the aim down sights, which introduced, and again, the enemies would react differently depending on how you approach each level. So no two playthroughs of each level is ever exactly the same, which was pretty interesting at the time as well. So I guess you should check this out. It's available on Steam on the PC. It's fairly easy to run on modern hardware. I'm running it at 1440p here, and that's how I've chosen to play it. But anyway, what we'll do is we will check out its sequel. We're not going to do the console spin-offs because there was many spin-offs for the console. But we're going to stick to the mainline Call of Duty games. So we'll take a look at 2005's follow-up, the excellent Call of Duty 2, in the next video. So anyway, that is all for this video. So thank you for joining me, and we'll see you again soon, and goodbye.